We know that organisational change is the sum of individuals making a personal decision to embrace, adopt and use a new way of working, and it's what pro-size ADKAR is based on. But what motivates people to change or not? And in the 1980s, Decky and Ryan suggested how it works with their book Self-Determination and Intrinsic Motivation in Human Behaviour. It's a great book. And it turns out there's two types of motivation to change. There's intrinsic, inside ourselves, and extrinsic, which is external. Intrinsic is where we do something because we find it personally satisfying. Extrinsic is where we do something because it helps us to obtain an external goal. For example, when I think about why I do these videos, I realise that they fulfil both types of motivation. Intrinsic, because I find the subject interesting and I want to be the best I can be at it. And extrinsic, because I hope that by sharing my thoughts I can help others develop an appreciation of change management. So intrinsic and extrinsic. And Decky and Ryan's work tells me that my finding the subject interesting, my intrinsic motivation for doing the videos, quotes, provides essential nutrients for my psychological health and well-being. And it turns out that these needs are universal and innate within humans, and they're based on our need for three things: autonomy, competence and relatedness. And some people have stronger needs in these three areas than others, but those with less strong needs on any one of the factors can be supported, particularly in an organisational context. So that got me thinking, if organisational change is the sum of individual choices, and if those choices are predicated on a universal need for autonomy, competence and relatedness, we've got to explicitly include work on each of those in our change programme. So let's look at each. Autonomy is about individuals having a feeling of psychological liberty and freedom of internal will. And Decky found that extrinsic rewards for behaviour that is intrinsically motivated actually undermines intrinsic motivation, and they grow less interested in it. Basically, rewards, deadlines, etc. undermine autonomy. And in fact, Lubeck and Schneider found that the need for autonomy is so strong that people are actually willing to pay money to have caused an outcome themselves. So that leads me to think that for change management, we've got to give individuals as much autonomy as possible, and that should include things like not having a one-size-fits-all approach to change. That includes listening to each individual or contiguous group and reflecting their needs in the overall change programme. And also it means making sure that there's a strong change agent network, each of whom is responsible for, quote, causing outcomes themselves and providing immediate contextual support for regarding the change. And that should include pilots, success stories, successful use of one part of the change, and mentoring, among other things. In terms of the second element, competence, Decky found that giving people unexpected positive feedback on a task increases their intrinsic motivation to do it. In other words, positive feedback fulfills people's need for competence. In change management, we explicitly design rewards and recognition strategies as part of an overall approach to reinforcement of a change. This research tells me that this is a crucial part of the competence element required to drive intrinsic motivation. And in terms of the third element, which is relatedness, it turns out that we humans have a, quote, will to interact with and be connected to others. And in fact, if you look at Yuval Noah Harari's work in Homo Deus, he suggests that interaction and collaboration is what basically differentiates humans from other animals. So in other words, we have an inherent tendency towards relatedness, but although this is inherent, it doesn't happen automatically and has to be stimulated by giving opportunities to actualise inherent potentials. And so for me, in terms of change management, that means ensuring that every voice is heard, considered and reflected explicitly in the change. So, for example, a top-down burning platform order to change does not drive relatedness, whereas a comprehensive assessment of individual needs and the reflection of those in an overall change process does increase relatedness. So what are my lessons from all of this? Well, number one, focus on developing intrinsic motivations to change. Make the change personally satisfying. Number two, don't rely on extrinsic motivations. Don't go with the burning platform approach. And number three, build your change approach explicitly on driving individual autonomy, individual competence and individual relatedness. That's how our brains work, so why not use it? Hope this helps.